The film begins with Miso, a middle-aged woman, arriving at an art gallery where a captivating portrait of her is showcased. An employee approaches her, explaining that they found her through the artist of the painting. The employee also mentions Miso's best friend, a Hun, who used to write a blog regularly. Miso, seemingly dealing with unresolved issues, leaves the gallery, disappointing the employee. As she heads to the elevator, she unexpectedly runs into Jin-woo, a Hun's ex-boyfriend. He immediately asks about a Hun and their current relationship, but Miso remains silent and steps into the elevator. Once home, she starts searching for Hun's blogs online, immersing herself in their content. Through the blog, Miso reflects on their friendship journey, recalling their first meeting and the joyful moments they shared. The scene shifts back to 1998, showing the younger versions of the girls when they first meet. Miso, having just transferred schools, is introduced by the teacher, but shows little interest in academics. When asked to sit down, she bolts from the classroom, prompting her worried mother, Lee, to follow her outside, though she can't convince Miso to return. After school, a Hun finds Miso's abandoned backpack and decides to return it. She eventually discovers Miso standing at the edge of a cliff, gathers her courage, and joins her. This moment marks the beginning of their friendship. Later, a Hun invites Miso to her home, introducing her to her family and their cat. As they enjoy their time together, Miso loses track of time, leading to a worried Lee arriving at a Hun's house. She harshly reprimands her and insists that she return home immediately. From their conversation, it becomes clear that Miso's father is absent from their lives, and she longs to realize the dream of moving to Seoul with her mother. The next day, Miso goes back to a Hun's house to spend time together. While they play, a Hun reveals her artistic talent by drawing a flawless picture of a cat, which impresses Miso, who has never had a strong passion for anything. A few days later, Lee has to go to Seoul for urgent work, leaving Miso in a Hun's care. A Hun's family treats Miso like one of their own, providing a loving environment during her mother's absence. As the years go by, both girls enter high school, with Miso pursuing her passion for art at the academy while a Hun follows her father's wishes to study education and become a teacher. Despite their different paths, their bond remains strong, and they continue to meet regularly, sneaking away from their classes. In the next scene, Miso arrives on her scooter to pick up a Hun, and the two friends head to a nearby town, specifically a jewelry shop. While exploring the shop, Miso encourages a Hun to take the brave step of getting her ears pierced since her birthday is the next day. A Hun agrees, and the shopkeeper pierces her ears. However, in the midst of their fun, Miso accidentally breaks a few items, prompting the shopkeeper to chase them out. Later that evening, Miso joins a Hun's family for dinner and expresses her wish for a Hun to spend the night at her apartment. A Hun's mother is concerned, and soon we see the girls in Miso's apartment, sharing heartfelt conversations about their lives. During their chat, Miso expresses her unusual belief that dying young is preferable to enduring life's struggles. This angers a Hun, who scolds her friend and warns her not to entertain such thoughts again. The next morning, Miso surprises a Hun by taking her to an abandoned house for her birthday, where she gifts her a pair of earrings. Unfortunately, a Hun has only one ear pierced, so she decides to wear one earring and asks Miso to keep the other. As they talk, a Hun shares her crush on Jin-woo, a student from another school she noticed at a recent basketball game. The following day, Miso visits Jin-woo's school and confronts him, insisting he accept a Hun's feelings, and warning him not to break her heart. Jin-woo agrees. The scene shifts to a lively dining hall where students from both schools are gathering for dinner. A Hun steals glances at Jin-woo, and during a name game, she chooses his name, marking the start of their friendship. A Hun asks if she can draw his portrait, and he happily agrees. Using her artistic skills, she creates a stunning portrait of him. Back in the present, Miso is touched as she looks at the portrait, tears in her eyes. The timeline shifts to 2004, where Ahun brings Jin-woo to Miso's workplace, a nightclub. Miso tries to hide her face from Jin-woo but fails. The trio spends time together, enjoying their vacation. One day, they decide to explore a cave and go hiking. Ahun gets tired and takes a break, while Miso continues on her own. Concerned for her friend, Ahun asks Jin-woo to follow Miso and look after her. The portrait we first noticed at the art gallery at the start of the movie reappears later, when Miso becomes intrigued by a locket around Jin-woo's neck. She asks him about its meaning, and he explains that it was a gift from his grandmother, believed to protect him from illness, which he has treasured since childhood. Their bond deepens unexpectedly, culminating in a passionate kiss. In the next scene, the trio returns home from their vacation, but an unspoken tension hangs in the air, creating a sense of unease. The following day, Miso prepares to leave for her long-awaited trip to Seoul with her new boyfriend, Kim. Ahun desperately urges Miso to stay, as she is her only childhood friend, but her pleas go unheard. As Ahun waves goodbye, she notices Jin-woo's locket around Miso's neck, sparking a flicker of suspicion within her. In the next scene, Miso is excited to chase her dreams. She rents a lovely apartment and starts working at the same bar as Kim. She creates elaborate tales of globetrotting and achieving her dreams, even though her reality is filled with loneliness and hardship. Ahun reads her letters, feeling joy for her friend's apparent success while wishing her well. Months later, Jin-woo approaches Ahun with plans to continue his studies in Seoul. Ahun is taken aback, but realizes she can't stop him from leaving. Now, she finds herself alone in their small town, as her only friend has long gone and her boyfriend is also heading to Seoul. Meanwhile, Miso's life takes a downturn when her mother passes away, leaving her to handle the funeral alone. Overwhelmed with frustration and sadness, she returns to their old town and goes straight to Ahun's place. Ahun is thrilled to have her friend back, but Miso continues to weave stories about her successful life, fabricating tales of exotic travels and experiences. She even shows Ahun postcards from places she claims to have visited. Although Ahun begins to doubt Miso's stories, she chooses to remain silent for now. Later, the two friends enjoy a pleasant evening outdoors and check into a hotel. Once in their room, Miso asks Ahun to grab a sanitary pad from her bag, but to her surprise, she finds Jin-woo's ticket inside. Miso feels embarrassed and doesn't say a word. That night, they go to an upscale cafe for dinner, but when Ahun sees the high prices, she suggests leaving. Unwilling to back down, Miso devises a plan to raise money for their meal. She approaches a table of wealthy patrons and offers to mix drinks in exchange for a bottle of wine. To her astonishment, one businessman agrees. However, Ahun disapproves of Miso's actions and leaves the cafe abruptly, retrieving her belongings from the hotel room despite Miso's attempts to stop her. The story fast-forwards several years, and Miso has finally found stability working for a resale company. While investigating the disturbance, she discovers that her boss has taken his own life due to falling prey to fraudulent investments. Heartbroken by the tragedy, Jin-woo comforts Miso and takes her to his apartment. In the next scene, Ahun tries to reach Jin-woo but is unsuccessful. Concerned, she goes to his apartment and finds him with Miso, who, overwhelmed with emotion, rushes to hug Ahun and expresses her sorrow. Miso then invites Ahun inside and leads her to the bathroom, where Ahun notices her boyfriend's locket around Miso's neck and asks how she got it. Miso cleverly explains that she asked Jin-woo for the locket, as a good luck charm, to protect herself from the fear of an early death. Later, Jin-woo proposes to Ahun, and she happily accepts. The couple grows closer, but on their wedding day, Ahun reflects on her life and feels lost and unhappy. After much contemplation, she gets cold feet and decides to call off the wedding. Before heading to Seoul, she visits her mother and shares her decision. Her mother advises her to live life on her own terms and seek joy. Upon arriving in Seoul, Ahun coincidentally rents the same apartment that Miso once lived in. As she explores the space, she begins painting a beautiful portrait of her best friend, Miso. Back in the present, Jinwoo visits Miso and asks about Han. Miso reveals that she has lost contact with her and mentions that she now has a daughter. It is revealed that during Han's visit to Seoul, she was pregnant and had chosen to raise the child with Miso's support. The daughter Miso cares for is actually Han's, and since her birth, she has not seen her biological mother because Han tragically lost a significant amount of blood during childbirth and succumbed to her injuries. In the final scene, Miso visits Han's mother and reveals the heartbreaking truth about her daughter's death. Overcome with grief, Han's mother encourages Miso to go to Han's apartment in Seoul to collect her belongings. While there, Miso finds the unfinished portrait, which triggers an emotional breakdown. Determined to honor her friend's legacy, Miso resolves to complete the portrait. The film ends with Miso at an art gallery, accompanied by Han's daughter. There, she discloses that all the portraits attributed to Han were actually created by her, and that she also wrote the blog entries under Han's name to preserve her friend's memory.